prologue piece by piece. You don't read it all yet, we're going to go just a couple of sections. Talk a little bit about it that way. You get a really good understanding of it for yourself before we get into the story. And when we're done taking these notes, you're actually going to rewrite this entire prologue in your own words. So make sure to follow along, take down any notes that you want. I'm going to be writing stuff on the board, so if you want to write that stuff and then anything else that you think of that you want in your notes, make sure to write that down too. First thing that I'm going to do is, have you guys done a word association before? When I say a word and then you come up with things that remind you of that? Okay, so if I say the word neighbor or neighborhood, what do you guys think of? Okay, so people, did somebody say houses? Okay. Anything else? Okay. What about a neighborhood in terms of the people that are there? What do you, so neighbors in general, you know, are they typically the same types of people? Or are there a lot of different people? I know somebody said friends. Can neighbors be enemies? Yeah. So we'll put friends / enemies. Okay. Anything else that comes to mind before we move on? No? Okay. So everybody look at the prologue. I'm just going to go ahead with the first section. Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. Okay. In that section, talking about there's some neighbors there. How would you describe the neighbors in this section? Enemies, right? Anything else? Okay. And like you said, enemies, which is on our list that we came up before. How about people? People in that? Okay. How? Okay. Obviously not friends, right? Street, that didn't really come up. Moving on to the next section then, keep in mind, so we're talking about, so far we have a neighborhood of people. Mostly it's going to be two families, which I'm sure you guys already know, but they're feuding families, but they are alike in terms of status. You want to make that in your notes that they're, you know, they're both on the same level. It's not like one family is better than the other. So for the next word, I'm going to do young lovebirds. When you guys think of maybe people your age, a little bit older, what are some typical actions of couples around your age? Drama. Okay. Good one. Anything else? That should be that's it? That's all you guys think? That's a typical action of couples is drama. Makes sense, but rebel. Anything else? I mean, like the way they act with each other, not necessarily, I mean, other than drama. Anything? You know, like hugging, holding hands, kissing, anything like that. Come to mind? Anything? Good guy and final. Okay, so we'll leave it at that and move on to the next section, which is, from forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. Okay, so, anybody mention suicide in that? No. Okay. What's that?
Chili's for two.
Chili's for two. That's funny. I had that one. Okay. So the words that we did come up with before we read that, do any of these match what we just read? Yeah, there's definitely some drama in there.
More drama.
Yeah, rebellion wasn't necessarily stated in there, but well, kind of, I guess you can tell from the part where it says from these two foes. So you know, obviously that means that it's one child from each of these feuding families. If you want to explain that in your notes, you might want to write that down. So it's a big comment in the story. Guy and girl, is that mentioned in there? Not really, but it's implied, right? Obviously there wasn't any laughter. Is there anything else any other words that came up, emotions that you guys can think of after reading that line? Funny that that didn't come up before.
No one obvious.
Anything else? So the next one, which is, let's see if I can grief. If you think of somebody who's grieving a recent, like a lost loved one, what are some kinds of things you can think of, either emotions or interactions with each other?
Tears.
They're fine. Suicide, really? Anything else? What does grief do to kind of the family of the lost one? Anything else? We'll read the next section. See what you come up with after. Okay. Whose misadventures, piteous overthrows, do with their death bury their parents' strife, the fearful passage of their death-marked love, and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end not could remove. What does that tell you?
Someone died.
They died, and then what's going on with the families now that those two are dead?
They're fighting.
They're not fighting anymore. So, not fighting is kind of the opposite. It breaks them apart, actually brought them together in this case, right? So, anything else you get from that one? The rest of the prologue I'll just read to you because it's here. Is now the 2 hours traffic of our stage, the which if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. All that means is that a prologue in a play like this is there's just one person that comes out on stage and kind of introduces the premise of the story to you, the plot, so you know exactly what's going on, which is what we were doing. Just trying to come up with ways for you to understand exactly what's going to happen. So that way when you start reading through the play, you know what to expect. The prologue goes ahead and tells you right away that these characters are going to die in the end, because they don't want that to be the main point of the play. They want you to focus rather on why they die at the end, not that they do. So while you're reading, kind of keep your eyes up and just take note of what's happening to them. But as it says, the last line, it says, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to make. That basically just means, this is just giving you a little overview of the plot. Everything else you need to patiently read, follow along, and imagine so that you can find out what actually happens in the story. So now that we've done all these words, and hopefully you wrote them down in any other words that came up to you, but what we're going to have you do on another piece of paper, and actually going to turn it into this later, is take this prologue and rewrite it in your own words Keep in mind, it should be about the same length as this. You can break it up into sections like I did if that helps you. Just write your general idea of what's going to happen in this story based on the way we described it. Does that make sense to everyone?
So we rewrite the prologue?
Yeah, rewrite the prologue in your own words, just what the story means to you or what you understand it to be about. Any other questions?
So put it on a separate piece of paper.
Oh.
What you just did with Ms. Peterson are going to be part of your notes that you'll keep in your binder. Now use this to help you rewrite the prologue in your own words. Okay? So put that on a separate sheet of paper, and for the assignment up in the upper left-hand corner, put prologue. Okay? And remember what she said, it's what we call a paraphrase. A paraphrase means you put it into your own words, but you keep the length about the same. That's the difference between a paraphrase and a summary. If we said summarize this prologue, you could probably do it in a couple of sentences, because you can shorten it. But we don't want you to summarize it, we want you to paraphrase it, which means put it into your own words and keep it about the same length. So try to go through line by line, all right, and put it into modern language rather than Shakespeare language. And Ms. Peterson will come around and help you. And Ms. Gonzalez.
Yep, I sure will.
And maybe if you're lucky, even me.
Everybody's going to want to be in this class. 3 people helping.